Up on Mountain News this morning, WYMT is teaming up with God's Pantry Food Bank to host a virtual food drive. We'll show you how you can help. And as COVID-19 continues to put a strain on local businesses, we talk with the bed and breakfast owner here in Hazard about how they are adapting. And we take a look at how Kentucky lawmakers wrapped up the final day of the 2020 legislative session in light of changes resulting from COVID-19.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. The time is now 5:33 and my name is Lacey Roberts. Thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. And I did get power back in my home yesterday, which is why I am reporting from home remotely, but I know many are without power. And let's bring in Brandon Robinson to talk about that. At least these temperatures are supposed to be rising so that these nights won't be as chilly and the mornings either too. Right, Brandon?
That's exactly right. I'm actually pulling up to see how many outages we have. And roughly still about 18,000 people without power this morning. So it's getting better, down from nearly 70, actually more than 70,000 people on Monday morning, but still anywhere from 15 to 17 people, or 17,000 people rather, without power this morning. And of course, it's a chilly morning for a lot of folks as we take a look at our active alerts here at 5:34, and you see a freeze warning in effect for a lot of areas this morning. And then a frost advisor from some areas down closer to the Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia border. So again, that goes through 9 o'clock. All depends on where you are. A little warm, or a little cooler rather, into central Kentucky there. Irvin at 28, along with Lexington and Danville, 30. In Moorhead this morning, 33 though. Jackson, Hazard, Pikeville, but 37 in Harlan, just across the county line there in Virginia, Lee County there. Jonesville at 30, 32 Middlesboro. So there's some pockets of clouds probably in places this morning, causing some of those little bit of I don't call them heat pockets, but again, it's warmer pockets, I guess, of air in the atmosphere. 52 by 2 o'clock this afternoon, 56 by 5 o'clock as sunshine takes over after a chilly morning. The rest of the forecast is on the way here in just a little bit. Lacey?
Thank you, Brandon. And as folks continue to clean up after those storms on Sunday, one family in Pike County is now cleaning up from a mudslide. And this happening just after they had just finished cleaning up from a previous slide. That slide happened mere weeks ago. Daniel Baker was working in his garage when his grandson heard a sound coming from the hill behind their home. He reached out to Kentucky's Division of Abandoned Mine Lands, who had crews on site by the next day. Now, while that cleanup has been undermined by a second slide, Baker tells us the damage is not as bad due to a wall built during the last cleanup. And for those who live in West Prestonsburg, it will take a little bit longer to get home as the bridge near Archer Park on Kentucky South 2555 is temporarily closed. Now that bridge is closed due to severe cracking and separation of the bridge's pavement. After a complaint due to the cracking, bridge engineers closed the bridge to cars and people walking across. They plan to start construction today and making sure that there is no structural damage.
Within probably 40 minutes, we had the signs out that says, obviously, go to the old 114 way into West Prestonsburg. We've got them on both ends of town, so it was having them here so quickly was great.
They are currently not sure what caused the damage, but it impacts hundreds of people. Drivers can detour using University Drive from US 23 or use Kentucky 302 to South Lake Drive. And in Leslie County, this is downtown Hyden at around noon on Wednesday. Already quiet from a pandemic, it's even more still as the area is without power. And just outside of Hyden, heading towards the Wooten community, almost anywhere that you look, you can see that trees are snapped, lights are out, and damage of some sort is around. WYMT's Connor James was out in that area yesterday and shows us some of that damage.
Just devastated.
The sound of electric company trucks driving by is welcome. This little community is Pound Mill, halfway between Hyden and Wooten.
Never seen nothing like it.
Nothing like it. Dozens of trees uprooted, snapped in half, and tossed around lie across Jason Gibson's cousin's yard.
There was trees in the road everywhere. It was devastated in areas, you know.
This home is without power.
A portion of their house it destroyed, you know.
And a full roof. Thankfully, they weren't home when this happened.
God was looking out for some people, you know, to be this much damage and not have somebody get killed.
Jason grew up in Leslie County. He doesn't live there anymore, but Tuesday he brought what heaters and generators he had to help whoever needed them.
Just trying to do our part, but there's a lot of people in this county that don't have that and need help.
As crews work, some may not have power until Sunday.
Just Mother Nature's unpredictable, and it just, you know, you can see they got a long road ahead of them to get this property back to where it was.
For Jason, the sheer intensity of the storm still is baffling to him.
On TV, you see, you know, things in Georgia and Alabama and stuff, but not in Kentucky, not here. I've never seen nothing like this.
As the cleanup and the rebuilding continues. In Leslie County, Connor James, WYMT Mountain News.
And WYMT is teaming up with God's Pantry Food Bank to hold a virtual food drive. Now, during the COVID-19 pandemic crisis, we are having to change the way that we usually do things. While collecting food is not the safest way, we can still work to help those who are food insecure by going virtual. We have the link to the donation page on our website at WYMT.com. The Elk Lodge in Corbin, is using a $2,000 grant to help restaurants downtown whose businesses have slowed down. They teamed up with the White Flag Ministries. Sole purpose is feeding people in Corbin that may not know where their next meal is coming from. WYMT's Hannah Reynolds went to Corbin to see how the partnership is helping businesses and the hungry. We'll have that in our 6 o'clock hour right here on Mountain News this morning. And during this pandemic, most businesses are trying to find a way to just stay afloat. And we are always thinking of restaurants and shops, but one place that people might think of is a local bed and breakfast. Here in Hazard, there are 2 of them, and one is the iconic Goose House. WYMT's Emily Bennett talked with the owner, Sherry Spradlin, about how she's finding ways just to make ends meet.
As spring approached,
this is the beginning of our peak season.
Harmony House Bed and Breakfast was gearing up for one of their best years.
Oh, we were ecstatic because it was like, oh my goodness, and we're going to have to hire somebody else. This is going to be great, you know, create more job opportunities.
But all of that came to a screeching halt.
I had 32, I almost cried, bookings that had been canceled.
Harmony House is where owner Sherry Spradlin lives, so due to COVID-19, she could not book any guests.
It's just like letting somebody in your personal home. And, you know, as Andy says, we can't do that.
She does manage the Goose Inn, and because it is in a separate location, she is allowed to book guests there, but has to follow certain guidelines.
I can leave them a key, let them go in. They have to look around for themselves, which I hate, but that's okay. They're still getting to go in.
But then she has to sterilize everything.
We went through 2 packages of the Clorox wipes.
And wait 2 to 3 days between bookings. But as most people are not traveling, the bookings are scarce.
Harmony House can make it. Yeah, I think we can keep holding on a little bit, but, you know, staying over at the Goose is going to be the hardest part.
Struggling to keep her doors open after pouring everything into renovating the Mother Goose House.
Had I known this was coming, you know, you wouldn't dip into your reserves, you know, to do that.
But though hard times loom over her,
it's going to be tough, you know, hopefully we'll make it.
She's keeping her positive mindset. In Hazard, Emily Bennett, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, the lack of guests at the bed and breakfast also has an effect on tourism. The Sprawling's guests eat out at local restaurants and shop in town. And Governor Andy Beshear says Kentucky is in its surge of cases. Last night, the governor announced 88 new cases of COVID-19. Now, there are now 5 cases in Floyd County. Governor Beshear also announced 7 new deaths from the virus. At least 122 people have died from COVID-19 in Kentucky. And health officials announced 2 more people at the Jackson County Nursing Home have tested positive for COVID-19. Jackson Manor has reported at least 32 positive cases. The Cumberland Valley District Health Department says 5 people are hospitalized and 7 have fully recovered. Earlier this week, the nursing home announced one resident had died from the virus. Governor Beshear says Kentucky nursing homes have been hit hard by the pandemic. And as of yesterday, 37 people have died in nursing homes across the state. Nearly 400 residents and staff have been affected. We also learned of new deaths in nearby by West Virginia. Mingo County reported its first coronavirus-related death. Wayne County reported its second death, and Wayne County currently has 70 cases. Most of them are at a nursing home. And yesterday was the final day of the 2020 legislation session, and lawmakers are spent working to override vetoes issued by Governor Andy Beshear. Now that includes the governor's line item vetoes on the one-year spending plan. The governor vetoed parts that would limit his ability to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Republican majority voted to override the governor's veto. Several Republican senators were also critical of some of the governor's actions to handle the pandemic.
The governor cites that this language severely undercuts his flexibility, particularly at a time when states need to react to federal funds that may come into the state due to the coronavirus issue.
However, the governor's rules don't appear to apply to EMW Clinic. They continue to perform elective medical procedures in Kentucky at the abortion clinics on a daily basis. In fact, they've been seeing between 18 and 22 women every day.
Lawmakers are also considered a bill that could provide relief to non-essential businesses. And just ahead on Mountain News this morning, we have the latest on one Eastern Kentucky native's progress on season 40 of Survivor.
Jackets will be needed again this morning, and maybe the ice scrapers too in some areas. I'll tell you what we can expect for the rest of the day in about 3 minutes.